Dr. Zahi Hawass, thank you so very much for joining us on Underground.
You are welcome.
Yes.
Why did you call your program Underground? Why?
Well, that's a great question. I think because in archaeology, there are those topics that we're very comfortable with speaking about in public and speaking about among our colleagues. But every once in a while, when you have an archaeologist who you join at dinner over a glass of wine, or perhaps behind the stage before a lecture or after a lecture, there are certain theories and ideas that archaeologists are willing to share among colleagues, but they don't talk about them publicly all that much. So we are trying to get to sort of the meat of some of those ideas that are not as commonly discussed in public.
Good. Okay, start now.
Okay. So Underground features independently minded archaeologists like yourself, anthropologists, historians, and science renegades on controversial topics and themes like early complex culture, unexpected finds, ancient migrations, diffusion, ancient technology, all those wonderful things that exist in Egypt and around sort of the Egyptian penumbra of academia and scholarly research, if you will. And I want to say that it is a great pleasure to see you again. We had a delightful dinner 8 or 9 years ago in New York, and you were gracious enough to introduce me to an important Egyptologist who I remain in contact with. And so for that, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Terrific. I'm going to give a quick bio, although there are no quick bios to be given about you, Dr. Hawass, because your career has been incredible. But you were born in Egypt. You graduated with a degree in Greek and Roman archaeology from Alexandria University, and you went on to be an inspector of antiquities. And that's where you fell in love with archaeology. You went to Cairo University and got a degree in Egyptology. And then you were accepted into the University of Pennsylvania with a Fulbright scholarship. And shortly thereafter, at that point, you were already working as a chief inspector of the Great Pyramids. Is that correct?
Yes.
Incredible. So by the time you graduated, you had a dissertation in funerary establishments of Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure. You lived in the United States for 7 years, and you say that it changed your life. And I want to ask you about that because as an American, that's interesting. After that, you ultimately became the Undersecretary of State for the Giza Monument, and you went on to become the Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities. In 2011, you retired, and you've been active ever since. It doesn't seem like you missed a beat. You're working now in Saqqara and Luxor, and you work the Scans Pyramids Project, and you've just published a novel. So you've been very busy, and you have a lecture tour coming as well. Did I hit all the main points?
Yes.
That's incredible. What did I miss? Tell us a little about yourself.
No, I'm just a person who really dedicated his life to Egyptology. I do nothing except lecturing or excavating or writing books or writing articles. I'm excavating right now, working in Giza pyramids. I'm working inside the Great Pyramid of Khufu to reveal its secrets, and the Sphinx. And I'm also excavating in 2 sites in Saqqara.
Wow.
And also working in 4 sites in Luxor, which I made a major important discovery, which is the Golden City that was chosen as the most important discovery after the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun. And I'm a simple person, and I never hurted anyone in my life, and I always help people, and I help Egyptology, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, you've done a lot to help Egypt and the whole discipline of archaeology. You are arguably the best known archaeologist in the world, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Let me ask you a little bit about your experience at the University of Pennsylvania. You mentioned in your bio that it changed your life. In what way?
Because if you know my career, from the beginning, I never wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to be a lawyer. And when I did join the faculty of law, I did not like archaeology. I did not like law. Then I did go to faculty of arts. In the faculty of arts, I did join the archaeology department by accident. I did not know even what I do. And I was not a good student. I never studied. I never worked. I just got my degree by miracle. And I had a government job. But when I went to excavate for the first time and I discovered the statue, and that statue was for the goddess Aphrodite, goddess of beauty and love for the Greek. And this, when I said, cleaning it, I found my love, archaeology. And I had passion for archaeology. And this is why I found myself, I know nothing about archaeology. And this is why I went to Cairo University. University of Pennsylvania, I really stayed the 7 years working very hard to be a good Egyptologist. I even told the professors, do not think that I'm the chief inspector of the pyramids. I am here a student. I'm here to learn. Then I really did learn a lot in Egyptology. And the most important thing that I did learn, even if you reach the peak in Egyptology, you are still learning. You are still a student. I am
Uh-huh.
now still a student in Egyptology. And I did really learn how to write well. And this is why I wrote now more than 60 books, great books. Every year I have a book written. And also, I did learn how to give a good public lecture. In my lecture is like a show. It is not really something that people can just hear. No, I'm giving for the first time in my coming lecture tour that starts in May in Phoenix, Arizona, and in Montreal, 33 lectures. Every lecture, I'm revealing for the first time new information and new discoveries that you never hear about before. These discoveries are going to be what we found inside the Great Pyramid, what we discovered in Saqqara, a pyramid. Great important, the search for the mummy of Queen Nefertiti, the search for the tomb of Queen Nefertiti. Great important things that I will reveal for the first time. And this is why, this is how I did learn from my study in the University of Pennsylvania.
Well, your public outreach, I think, you kind of changed the game in archaeology from my perspective. I've been following your career for probably 30 years now. I remember one of the most significant moments in my memory was, I think it was in the mid to late 90s when you did the opening of the tomb on Fox live, which was an
Was it Bahri
incredible.
Oasis? Was it
Yes,
Bahri Oasis
it was. Yeah, I believe so.
in
It
the
was.
valley
It
of the
was.
in the valley of the Golden Mummies?
That's right, and it was live. It was the first time that had ever been done before, and it created an incredible level of interest in the United States for Egypt, and I think, and there was a buildup to it. The entire country was looking forward to seeing what would be revealed, and it was just incredible. And so you've hosted numerous television series and specials, and you've done a lot to support, I think, the profile of Egypt and the interest that Americans have in ancient Egypt. And I think you've really driven tourism. What would you say motivates you from the public outreach standpoint? Um,
I have to. When I was young, I opened the TV. I only see foreign Egyptologists talking about our archaeology or history. I go to any bookstore. I never see an Egyptian write a book. And this is why one scene that I saw, National Geographic film, with an Egyptologist, his name is Kent Weeks, and the director of the West Bank of Luxor opened the tomb of Nefertari for him. And he was holding a light and never talked. And Kent Weeks was the one who was talking about. And this really hurted me. How this person, the director of the site, cannot give even an interview. And this is why I began to teach myself how to talk for the TVs and how to talk for my heart, how my passion that can bring all the discoveries to the people, it goes to the heart of the people. And really, this has made me also to dedicate my life in writing to the public and to scholars. And I'm really happy that when I left my job as a minister in 2011, this was the best thing ever happened to me, because now I became dedicated to Egyptology. 100% of my time now will go not only for administration as it happened before, but actually it's for excavating the things that I love. And also at the same time, you know that I returned in my career more than 600 artifacts from many countries. And I have to say that Homeland Security in America are really the only good people who helped me a lot. And they returned
Interesting.
back to me a lot of stolen monuments. And this is
Yeah.
why now in the internet, I'm having two petitions. One petition asking for the return of Rosetta Stone from the British Museum and the Zodiac from the Louvre. You know, Rosetta Stone was
Yeah. Oh,
found
yeah.
by the French, and the French gave it to the English. How you can give a gift to someone that's not yours? And the Zodiac, a French thief, cut it from the ceiling of the temple of Hathor at Dandra, and he sold it to the Louvre. The second petition is for the return of the bust of Nefertiti. Now, the two petitions are signed now by 300,000 people. I'm waiting until it will be signed each by 1 million. I do have young people now who walks in the streets of Cairo asking Egyptians and foreigners to sign the petitions. And after that, I will ask, because I really believe, you know, when I did this debate by the student of Oxford, the student debate, the students in Oxford University, they do every 3 years debate, big one. And one of them was for the return of the stolen artifacts. On the other hand, was Jim Kono, the director of the Getty, and some directors of museums. And I was on the other hand. They're saying, why do we return these artifacts back? This country, they never built good museums. They never do good conservation. And if a revolution happened, they destroy their monuments. I stood and I gave my talk and I said, we have museums now. You know, I built two great museums. One is a Grand Museum that's going to be opened to the public July 3rd. This museum is the best beautiful museum in the world. It is the most important cultural institution. We opened it partially, that you can see the statue of Ramses II, the grand stairs, and 11 galleries. But on July 3rd, all the treasures of Tutankhamun will be opened, and the boat museum. If you see
Wow.
how the artifacts are shown, you will not believe it. And also the Civilization Museum that contain the royal mummies. I want to tell you that After that, I told them restoration in Egypt is better than any country. And I said, I'm not after every artifact. I'm after only the 3 beautiful objects that I believe their home should be the Grand Museum. And also, I need museums to stop imperialism. What I mean by imperialism, our monuments were taken when the British and the French occupied Egypt. They transported, they raped the Nile, they took everything out. But now museums still buy stolen artifacts. And I call this imperialism. Because when a museum buys stolen artifacts, you encourage thieves to, to, to go to the tomb and damage the tombs and the stores. We still look at the Metropolitan Museum. They still buy stolen artifacts. It's really a shame.
Yeah.
And also the Louvre. There is a big court case in the court against the Louvre, the former director of the Egyptian department. I really want museums. And I met the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities recently, and he's going to write a letter to all director of museums. If any museum will buy stolen artifacts, will stop this museum of working in Egypt completely.
Yeah, well, congratulations on opening the museum in July. It sounds spectacular, and I certainly look forward to visiting. You mentioned the exhibit dedicated to Tutankhamun. That's something that there is no spectacular, more spectacular collection of grave goods in the world that I'm aware of than what Howard Carter and the team revealed in the Valley of the Kings. I will tell you, growing up, my parents had a coffee table book of Tutankhamun's, story. And so, as a boy, I looked at that on a regular basis, and it's just fascinating. Recently, I went to an immersive exhibit. It was in Jacksonville, and it was, I think, developed with National Geographic, and it was about the story of Tutankhamun and the Book of the Dead and the pathway to the afterlife. You were involved in the creation of that immersive experience, weren't you?
I think so, yes.
What I liked about it is there wasn't a single artifact. There were some replicas, but there were no actual authentic artifacts there. Yet the experience with the media experience was highly
Because,
entertaining and
because
educational.
children can touch a replica artifact. They can learn more. And really, this exhibit attracted many people in the States. It is now in Prague. I'm going on the 9th of April to give a talk in Prague because of this exhibit.
Yeah, well, I think it's a very innovative way to engage the public in culture history and archaeology without having to transport objects out of the country. So I think it's a good start in the right direction. So well done.
But we are planning now, after the opening of King Tut exhibits in the Grand Museum, we are thinking to send King Tut again, the real one again. And this will be big because this will be coming out of the Grand Museum and it will tour many cities in America and Japan and Europe. And this
Wow.
exhibit will capture the hearts of people everywhere. We will, in the Grand Museum are shown more than 5,000 artifacts because Howard Carter, when he discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun in November 4th, 1922, he found inside the tomb 5,398 objects. And he stayed 10 years excavating and restoring each object. For the first time, when you come to Egypt in July 3rd, you will see all these objects. But 100 objects of this exhibits to tour the states, because this exhibit will help Egypt to get more money for the conservation of objects, also to also in the same to bring tourism back to Egypt, and it's good publicity for Egypt. I really think sending an exhibit outside. I was in Japan recently for the opening of Ramses II exhibit that was shown in Houston and the Young Museum in San Francisco. Every day, 1,500 people, 1,500 people enter the exhibit. Ancient Egypt captured the hearts of people everywhere. When you say to your child in the age of 8, ancient Egypt, they will tell you the Great Pyramid, because everyone wondered until today. Look what has been published last week. 2 Italians just published a very crazy theory that under the second pyramid is a big city, 168 meters, more than 600 feet. These 2 Italians never came to Egypt before. They never took a permission to work in antiquities. How can you use radar with satellite to say there is something is located under the second pyramid of Khafre? And Khafre was Khufu's son. I am going to talk in details about this in my lecture tour in the States. And not only about this, people always create stories about pyramids. You know, I'm telling you, if anyone stood, I was giving a lecture yesterday to American group. It's a big family from Chicago. I told them, when you stood today in front of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, you will never believe that this pyramid built by a human being. Why? Because you don't know. If you will study ancient Egypt, you will know that the Great Pyramid was a national project of the whole nation. The 3 millions who lived in Egypt in that time participated in building the pyramid by sending workforce and food to help the king. Are you going to hire today 10,000 workmen to work for 28 years for nothing? You will never do that. But that was the most important project for the ancient Egyptian. And also I tell people, you know, most of what's written about the pyramids are completely wrong in books. And this is why we discovered recently 2 important discoveries. The first are the tombs of the pyramid builders. That tells us that the builders of the pyramids were Egyptians, and they were not slaves. If they were slaves, they will never be buried in the shadow of the pyramids. If they were slaves, they will never prepare their tombs for eternity like kings and queens. But the other important discovery, if any New Age person or anyone who talks about aliens or lost civilization read about this discovery, he will never talk about this. It is the oldest papyri ever found, known as Wadi el-Jarf papyri. It was found in a port near Sinai. It's written in hieroglyphic and hieratic. The text talking about Inspector Mirror. He said, I was hired by Khufu to work in his pyramid. My name is
That's
Mirror.
interesting.
I'm an
I've
inspector.
never heard that.
Under me was 40 workmen. I took them to work to cut the white fine limestone from Torah to case the pyramid. He explained how they cut the stones, how they transported the stones. And he talked about his boss. He said, my boss, his name is Didi. And I discovered 20 years ago a small tomb. I thought it's not interesting tomb. I found this one now. It's for Didi, the person
Wow.
that Mirror mentioned
Wow.
him. He talked that
That's
Khufu lived in a palace at Giza. He talked about the big boss who designed the Great Pyramid. How can we ignore all this information and talk about aliens and lost civilization?
so you mentioned the synthetic aperture radar news of the Khafra pyramid. That's obviously, as you know, has been exploding on the internet
I
over the
know,
last couple
because
of weeks.
if you mention these people, they publish an article in a magazine. This magazine, you or me, can give them money, and they publish anything you can write. They don't send this article to referees to say, is this article is correct or not?
Yeah.
I really believe that this magazine, by publishing an article like this without any scientific approach, it's a shame. It's a shame. Those people, they never worked in Egypt. How
Yeah.
any scientific machine can look down 600 feet or 550 feet? How? No way.
Yeah. So you think there's nothing to it, that this
You
is.
know, the base of the second pyramid was cut in the solid rock to be 28 feet high. Nothing can be under the solid rock at all. How can you build pillars and things like that in the solid rock? I don't understand. They want to say that aliens can do that. And this is not true.
Yeah, well, I've spent a lot of time with ground penetrating radar and side scan sonar and interpreting magnetometer data, and I think it's important to know that what you see as uh, reflections, whether it be a parabolic reflection or an echo, you have to have some experience um, looking at lots of data sets and to do the difficult job of interpretation. And my sense is that there's a lot of noise in these images. Um, and that the interpretation is a bit out on a limb. They've read entirely too deeply into it. And I think AI used the data and created the models that we're seeing. So I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't voids or chambers within
It
the
is.
Khafra pyramid.
We
Um,
we found important discovery inside Khufu pyramid. The Scan Pyramid project found a
yeah.
corridor behind the main entrance. In my lecture tour in the States in this coming summer, I'm going to announce for the first time major important discoveries inside the Great Pyramid. But these discoveries are something that you can see. It's not really a theory, or is not something that can speculation. We believe on evidence. And what I'm going to show in my lecture tour are evidence that we discovered.
It was that the Muon scan that you did in
Yeah, there is
2017.
another team that I'm working, English team, inside the Great Pyramid, and I will reveal what they found recently in my lecture tour.
Okay. Do you think that within the Khafra pyramid there are any undiscovered chambers
It
or
can be,
corridors or
it
voids?
can be, it can be, it can be more chambers, because in Khufu we have 3 chambers, but now we have many voids in the pyramid now that I'm going to reveal in my lecture tour in the States in May. But what I want to tell you, but you have to show why these voids are there. And you have to show them, but not to say about a void and you never show it to me. For us as Egyptologists and scientists, we believe in facts. What the Italians published is a theory, and this theory has been published everywhere. And I really am sorry that these two Italians took the second pyramid of Kefren for fame. But I'm telling you, any theory that's not correct, I always say it goes with the wind. It never stays.
Sure. Within the Khufu pyramid, you talk about there being voids. One of a great moment in Egyptology when I was a young man is when you sent the robot up the shaft from the Queen's chamber, and you came to the door with the copper or the brass handles. and here we are decades later, and we don't know what's behind the door. Will
You
we
will,
ever know?
yeah, no, you will know soon.
We will know soon. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you come, I'm coming to be in Tampa on June 5.
Okay.
Are you near Tampa?
Yes,
Then I will send you an email before, and I will send you a ticket to attend my lecture.
you
I will
got
be
it. I would love that. That would be
happy
amazing.
to invite you.
That would be terrific. So back to the Italian team. Just now, they also did a study of the Khufu pyramid in 2022, and they're also proposing a number of structures within the Khufu pyramid. Do you feel the same about that theory as well, or how do you interpret the
No,
2022 study?
the only work that has been done in the pyramid by a team called the Scan Pyramid, and this is Italian, Japanese, and Egyptian. I'm the scientific director who review their discoveries, and I have a team from England working with me now using infrared and ultrasound and many other techniques, because now you do not need to drill to discover what's behind a door. You can use these techniques to find out what's behind and what's inside the pyramid. And this is really what we are going to reveal soon. And really, I'm thinking actually to do this program live. I want, and by the end of this year, I will reveal all the secrets live to the public through a network from the States.
Amazing. Well, I will definitely be there in Tampa. You have mentioned that the tombs of the pyramid builders have been found, and this papyrus found in Sinai, and it seems um, you know very palatable to imagine a large labor force building the pyramids. But the question always boils down to how did they do it? And there's many different theories of internal tunnels spiraling. There's ramps. There's using water.
I want to tell you, we discovered now all the evidence and the information about building the Pyramid of Khufu. I wrote a book, me and my friend Mark Leaner. It's called Giza and the Pyramids. Number one, we discovered that all the stones for building Khufu Pyramid came from Giza Plateau, 1,000 feet to the south of the base of the pyramid. We found that the ramp for transporting the stones came from the quarry to the southwest corner of the main pyramid as a permanent ramp. And the Egyptian did external ramp around the pyramid. Then you have the workmen. There is some group of workmen cutting the stones using diorite tools and flint tools. Others using diorite balls to smooth the stones. Others transporting the stones on wooden sledges. If you come today in my excavation, I can show you how two workmen only can raise 10 tons lead of a sarcophagus. And
Okay.
they're using their mind, not their power. The Egyptian, when they move something, I will tell you, there was a very famous radio show in the States by a new age guy. His name is Art Bell.
Yeah.
And Art Bell, do you know him?
Yeah, I remember Art Bell. Yeah,
Art
coast
Bell
to
used to
coast.
talk about how the Egyptian can move stones. And when he asked to interview me, I told him I will never give you an interview until you can come and see how we cut stones. He came to Egypt. I showed him a man in the age of 70 will go above a stone 10 tons weight. He will bring a pencil and he will go to draw a line in the weak. Limestone is like us. It has weak areas. And in the middle, he put a piece of iron, pum, pum, cut it twice. I found in my excavation in Abu Sir two important scenes. One scene, the workman dragging a capstone. Above that scene are the hieroglyphic word called Ja'im. And Ja'im means white and yellow gold. Other scene, ladies are dancing, and they call them the khinner in hieroglyphic, means the dance troupe of the king. And my interpretation, when the king finished building the pyramid, the king will come with the royal family, the vizier, the officials, the public, to stand in front of the pyramid. When the workmen put the capstone cased with gold in the top of the pyramid, it meant the pyramid was finished. And everyone has to dance and sing because the king became a god.
Amazing. So if I heard you correctly, your theory, the book you wrote with Mark Leonard, is that there was a ramp, but it was an external ramp.
Yes, there
External
is
ramp.
no
Okay.
internal ramp. It's only
Okay.
external. And we found the Egyptian dismantled this ramp. We found the remains of this ramp located on the west side of the Giza plateau. And I
Okay.
want to tell you, on the 8th of April, Giza plateau will be completely changed. We are going to let all the tourists to go from Fayoum Road, and all the camel and horses will be in one area. You will not see them everywhere. And you will go to visit the site with electrical cars. For the first time, you can visit Giza Plateau, and no one will bother you anymore to ride a camel or buy a souvenir. 8th of April is going to be a very important day for the public who will visit the Giza Plateau.
Amazing. Amazing. So, as it relates to the pyramids at Giza, there was a theory put forth quite a number of years ago that the three pyramids represent the stars in the constellation of Orion, the belt stars.
You know, I
Um,
tell you, this theory was really announced by Robert Buffal, and he wrote a book. Okay, if you look carefully at the book, you will see that he put certain stars with certain pyramids, and he ignored the other pyramids. And when this book was published, we made a conference in Chicago, and we had astronomer, Egyptologists, scientists, and we began to examine this theory. And we found that this theory has no scientific basis at all. He put the Orion stars on certain pyramids, and he ignored the others. And this theory now is gone with the wind. There is because no scientific basis. If really you need to publish something, you need to present it to scientists to discuss it. And if scientists approve it, you can publish it. But you cannot go in New York in an apartment, air conditioned, and sit and have a pen and write a book about pyramids. How come?
right, right. Um, in 1996, I came to Egypt, and I had a GPS, and we correlated the right ascension and declination of the stars in the Orion pyramid to the pyramids. Excuse me, of Orion's belt, the right ascension and declination of the coordinates of stars. We overlaid those on the Giza plateau, and it appeared that there was some correlation, but it was not Bouval's correlation. To your point, the stars were not aligned properly in the way that he had suggested they would be, but it looked like there had been some effort made to represent geodetically the Orion constellation on Giza. But it sounds like you're not you don't think that theory is true.
No, because we examined it
Uh-huh.
in a conference in Chicago. I think it was 2010.
Okay.
And we came to the conclusion that he did not really put all the constellation with pyramids. No, certain stars with certain pyramids only.
Okay. Well, this all is it's kind of plays into the proverbial lost civilization, as you've mentioned, and the focus of that discussion is almost always the Sphinx, because of the erosion on the Sphinx rump and the Sphinx enclosure. And the argument, of course, is that the Sphinx is much older than the pyramids and then sort of dynastic Egypt. What's your position on that?
Say the question again.
There's a very popular theory. Of course, you've mentioned it already today. This idea that the Sphinx is part of a much earlier, sophisticated, pre-dynastic.
Okay. Now I want to tell you something. If I'm staying in this office now, working, if you come back thousands of years, you will have evidence that Zahi Hawass used this office. I excavated an area near the Sphinx, and this area had never been excavated before. It was undisturbed. In our excavation down, I found Old Kingdom evidence. Up, Middle Kingdom. Up, New Kingdom. Up, Roman. Nothing before the Old Kingdom. If there is any old civilization exist around the Sphinx, it should leave some evidence. Number one, I looked inside the Sphinx and we discovered 4 tunnels. One behind the Dream Stela goes down for 12 feet in the body of the Sphinx. The second one in the top goes in the body of the Sphinx from up down 25 feet. The third one on the tail of the Sphinx, 45 feet. And the fourth one in the north. Inside all of them, I found pottery in situ. Date all these tunnels to 500 BC, the late period. As we think today, there is something hidden underneath the Sphinx. The Egyptian thought the same, and they dug, and they found nothing. About what could be under the Sphinx. You know, you have the Edgar Casey, you have the Rosicrucian believe something under the Sphinx. And people used to ask me, we need to drill to find out what could be down the Sphinx. I used to say, how can I let someone from the streets of New York to come and drill? But when I found the rise of the water table, I brought Cairo University. We did make 32 drilling everywhere, 30 to 40 feet under the Sphinx. We found nothing. The Sphinx is a solid rock, a living rock, and there is nothing underneath. Other people say, why the head is very small comparing to the body of the Sphinx? The reason, Giza Plateau is a part of the Mokattam Formation. Level 1 and 2 are very bad stones that you can see to the Sphinx's chest. Level 3 is the head. It is the best quality of the stones. The Egyptian carved the head, and they wanted to make a lion body. Then they covered the whole body of the bad stones with covering stones. And they did the modeling of the lion body in the covering stones. And this is why the head is very small comparing to the body. When I met Mr. Beast, you know Mr. Beast?
No. Oh, West? John Anthony West?
No. Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast. Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Beast. Yes.
When he came last month and he did an interview with me, I agreed. I took him down to the Sphinx. And I told him, I want you to tell the young people what you see. I took him down in one of the shafts. I said, is there any gold, any lost civilization? No. I took him to the tombs of the pyramid builders. I made him to clean with me one skeleton to tell the people that aliens did not build the pyramid. People are like us. I took him to the 5 rooms above the king's chamber, where we discovered before 3 names of the gangs who built the pyramids. The workmen who built the pyramids were divided to gangs. Each gang had a name. Each gang had an overseer, like one name called Friends of Khufu. And recently, we discovered year 13 of Khufu's reign. And I took Jimmy, Mr. Beast, with me up in the 5th chamber. in an adventure at 8 in the evening. We came out of it at 12 midnight. I
Wow.
have things to tell you, but when you tell me about things, you only talk. You never give me an evidence that people can touch or can see. John Anton West and Robert Bofal and Graham Hancock, what did they say? Nothing. No evidence at all. Their theory now is gone with the wind. You never hear about them.
Let me ask you about something you said. You said you went down in the shafts beneath the Sphinx and you found some pottery in situ. Did you say that that pottery dated to 500 BC?
Exactly. Because I
So
can, if I see any pottery, I can tell you the date of it.
but this was much later in time after its construction. Um, dynastic Egyptians
This is the end of the
exploring.
Egyptian. This is the end of the Egyptian history
Yeah. Okay.
in 500 BC, when civilization was finished and lost.
Yeah. Okay, well that's interesting. I wasn't aware of that. So they were digging down there looking for something that could have been buried perhaps beneath the Sphinx, but they didn't find anything based on what we're seeing in the shafts. Um, Let me just make sure I understood what you were saying insofar as the casing stones around the Sphinx body. Are you suggesting that they carved the head
No,
and then
the Sphinx was a solid rock, a very
oh,
bad, deteriorated rock. But the top of it was in a good stones. That the Egyptian
yes.
carved it from the top, the head. And after that, how they can make a lion body of a deteriorated rock? They can't. The only thing that they did, they covered the body with the stones. And they did the modeling of the lion body on the covering stones.
So that explains why the erosion on the rump could look older because it is older. They just encased it
You know,
in
with the
the
erosion,
covering stone.
and with the erosion, we brought scientists from Louisville University, and he studied all this erosion, and he told us this is not a water erosion, it's a wind weathering the erosion. Yeah,
Okay, interesting. Well, we don't hear much about pre-dynastic times in Egypt. It's sort of beginning with the first dynasty, of course, the fourth dynasty. Can you just tell us a little bit about you know what it was like leading up
we
to the
have
first
we have
dynasty?
sites.
What was
We have sites in Egypt. Tell us about pre-dynastic. We have when it started from the 10,000 years BC, and that's the Neolithic period when the Egyptians were just gathered and hunters. And I discovered one site at Meremdet Bani Salama to show how they began to think about religion. And after that, they started in pre-dynastic period. We have evidence of being people live in the Delta and people live in Upper Egypt until they were united under Dynasty Zero, until Huraha or King Mina came in Dynasty One and united Upper and Lower Egypt under one kingdom. And the kings of Dynasty One were buried in Abydos in Upper Egypt, and the kings of Dynasty Two were buried in Saqqara. Then we have, but the public are not interested in pre-dynastic Egypt because they're always interested in the history. But in pre-dynastic, you can read article. There is hundreds of articles written by scholars and books talking about this period.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, I think it's once they start building incredible monuments, the humans can more easily relate to architecture because you can see it, and that might be one of the reasons why the interests really uh, are most significant with the fourth dynasty. Speaking of other dynastic periods, the Ptolemy period. So this is now the Greek
You
period,
know,
which of course is
the Greek lived in Egypt for 300 years, and
yeah,
the last one was Cleopatra. And I was searching in cooperation with a lady from the Dominican Republic. Her name is
yes,
Catherine Martinez, and we worked together inside a temple called Tabu Ziris Magna. located 30 miles west of Alexandria to search for the tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Kathleen Martinez believed that Mark Antony and Cleopatra was buried inside this temple. And she was not an archaeologist, she was a lawyer. And I thought that this excavation could bring a publicity for Egypt. Then we made an expedition under me, and she became a member of the expedition. Then, actually, we worked. We found a temple for Alexander the Great. We found headless royal statues. We found that this temple was built by Ptolemy number 5, and it was dedicated to Isis and Osiris. And we discovered only about few months ago a head of Cleopatra on an intact foundation deposit. Outside the temple, we found many tunnels, goes to the water. And now we have Bill Billard, who found Titanic, that Kathy hired him to bring a team to dive in the water to search for any evidence about Cleopatra under the water. Then this was a very interesting excavation and very interesting search for the most popular queen, Queen Cleopatra, the magic.
Yes.
Queen.
Well, what happened? Because I had heard that some structures had been found. You know, I in fact I had chatted with Bob Ballard about this time last year, and he was pretty excited. He had talked about a National Geographic special coming out, and they were going to reveal these discoveries.
But they did not discover anything.
No,
nothing has been found until now.
Until now. Oh, so after Ballard's expedition, something else has been identified
inside the temple. Kathleen found a face of Cleopatra.
Okay.
In a foundation deposit, but it doesn't mean anything, because any king in the Ptolemaic period will visit any temple for Isis. Isis was a great goddess. She was even worshipped in Rome and Greece and everywhere. Then it's normal to have a statue of Cleopatra in a temple dedicated to Isis.
But they, as far as you know, the underwater survey off of top of Sirius Magna did not find anything.
Found under the water.
Okay. Bummer. I had thought that was a good potential, because there's the tunnel that leads into the water underneath the temple there. Yes.
This tunnel was used for water. For water, but was not really for what people can say it's for Cleopatra. If Cleopatra is buried there, why should we have tunnels?
I don't know. Do you still think there is a chance that Cleopatra could be buried there?
I really believe now that Cleopatra was buried mainly in a tomb that she built beside her palace. And the tomb and the palace is under the water now.
Yeah. Well, that was incredible work back in the 1990s, when the photographs in National Geographic of the Sphinx and Cleopatra's courtyard, as they called it, there in Alexandria Harbor. Spectacular work. Is there more?
In my TV show that I made for history called The Chasing Mummies, I did take one of the pillars of Cleopatra out of the water.
Are you planning on doing more work there?
No. I am now more interested in Giza Plateau, Saqqara, and the Valley of the Kings.
Okay.
Because I'm searching.
Well, speaking of, sorry, go ahead.
I'm searching right now in the Valley of the Kings for the tomb of Queen Nefertiti, and also using DNA to search for the mummy of Queen Nefertiti and her daughter Ankhesenamun.
How are you using DNA to search for Nefertiti?
We did use DNA before, and we found the family of Tutankhamun, and our work was completely uh, examined by American magazine, the scientific American magazine, what's called for medical, and they examined our work, and we found the family of Tutankhamun. We found the father was Akhenaten. We found the mother, mummy, was in KV 35,
Huh.
and we found the mummy of Queen Hatshepsut. Then DNA proved to be successful. Now I have a team, Egyptian team and foreign team.
Incredible. Yeah, that would be an
So
amazing find,
the
Nefertiti.
American magazine called JAMA. JAMA, it's an American medical magazine that I sent all what we did with the family of Tutankhamun, and they approved our work.
Huh. Well, maybe we can get the bust of Nefertiti back to Cairo about the time you
This is this
discover
is
the tomb.
this is now I'm fighting for this now.
Yeah,
I hope when
yeah.
I get the 1 million signature, I will make their life miserable.
Yeah. For the better of the Egyptians, for sure. So let me ask you this: we know that the Egyptians had terrific. I'm a maritime archaeologist. That's my background. Of course, I'm a generalist, but I studied marine archaeology. And the solar boats found at Giza are some of the most spectacularly preserved vessels in all of antiquity. And Egypt had just a tremendous maritime tradition, certainly working the Nile River and the Delta. How far and wide did Egyptian seafaring take the Egyptians at various times in the dynastic period?
We know only that the Egyptian went to Byblos, Lebanon, and they brought from Lebanon the cedar wood. We do not really have any more evidence. And they went to Syria, Palestine, they went also to Babel, but not really further than this. Some people thought crazy ideas about Mexico, but there is no evidence. All the pyramids in Mexico or South America or Indonesia or China are later than the Egyptian pyramids. All these shaped pyramids are tombs, but they have no relation with our pyramids. And therefore, we this boat that was restored, we moved it about a year ago to the Grand Museum, where we built a new museum, and we dismantled the old museum by the pyramid. And the Japanese are working in the second pit, restoring the wood, and they will reconstruct in 4 years from now. They will make the second boat to be installed, to be shown inside the new museum that located next to the Grand Museum.
Huh.
And these boats
When you
are symbolic boats. They're boats
the
called
yeah.
solar. One boat for the king to make a trip for the day. They called it Mahanjit and Hieroglyphic. Another one for the trip of the night. They called the Mesquitet. And the oars in the boat were used by the god to kill the wild creatures in the world, to clean the world from the devils. In return, the people worship the god.
Huh. Did the Egyptians have boats that allowed open ocean travel?
We think, yeah, this could happen, but we don't know further where they did reach. We have no written evidence except they went to the pond places and they brought ships with sails. We know they had sails, ships. That maybe they went to other countries and never recorded, except the Egyptians recorded everything. Like the country of Punt has been recorded by Sahore of Dynasty 5 of the Old Kingdom. And the Queen Hatshepsut temple has a big scenes of her journey to Punt.
Huh. Interesting. The well, thinking about your career, which of course is ongoing, but it's decades and decades long now. And you've been a part of some of the most significant archaeological discoveries in history. What would you say if you had to say there was one moment which was particularly special to you? Uh, what would that moment in your career be?
Every moment in my life is really very special. When I enter a tomb and I see a sealed sarcophagus and the workmen are opening, wait for the moment when I have my flashlight and I put my head to see what's inside the tomb. When I discovered this golden city, it's an amazing, important discovery. Amazing. Every minute for me in archaeology, it's a minute of joy and fun and mystery and magic.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel I do not live with this type of people today. Sometimes I feel that I live in ancient Egypt. It's true because I reveal their secrets every minute and I know a lot about them. And that's why I wrote my novel about Khufu and the women with the golden eyes, because how Khufu became in love with a lady, a farmer lady, and his love to her built the Great Pyramid. The pyramid is a sign of love, in my opinion. It's not a
Hmm.
it's not a sign of slavery, as people think.
Huh. That's really interesting. You say that the magic and the mystery of Egypt. I mean, it really is. If there's a place that sort of instills a sense of mystery, it's Egypt. In your mind, what is uh, the most mysterious aspect of ancient Egypt?
I think it's really what I'm looking now inside the Great Pyramid, looking for the truth, searching for voids, and also searching for the tomb of Cleopatra, Alexander the Great, searching in the Valley of the Kings for the tomb of Queen Nefertiti and the missing kings, Amenhotep I and Ramses VIII. All these are really mystery. For me, when I just found last week a beautiful tomb of one of the officials under the king Amenhotep III with a beautiful statue, incredible statues. These are really the mystery that we are solving right now. We are revealing the mystery of the past to clear our future.
Huh. Well, that's a great point. There's a lot left to be discovered. There
We found until
occasionally, if
now, we found until now only 30% of the Egyptian
yeah.
monuments, and still there is 70% is buried underneath the ground.
That's incredibly exciting. I think the idea that all major discoveries have been made is a fallacy, and you've really made that point powerfully here. Um, the voids. I have to ask you again about the voids in the Great Pyramid. Can you speculate on what you think might be contained within those
I have
voids?
to tell you, I cannot tell you much. I will reveal all this in May and June and July, but I want to tell you that until now, everything that we discover has to do with Khufu.
If you had unlimited resources, now you have pretty good resources. You're very good at finding resources. But if you had unlimited resources, would you do anything different than what you're doing now insofar as your
No,
research
no,
focus?
I will do the same. This is the career that I love. This is my passion. And I'm always, my excavation is funded either by TV, TV stations or rich individuals. And really, we make major discoveries with their names. I hope if anyone hear us and want to fund our excavation, I do have a foundation now called the Zahi Hawass Foundation for Antiquities and Heritage. And this foundation are really caring for restoration and conservation and excavation for Egypt monuments.
How can someone learn more about that foundation? Can
You
they
just go
look
to my
on the internet?
website. You just go on my website, hawasszahi.com, and you will know about the foundation.
Okay.
Or write to me from my You know, I receive fan emails every day, and people go to my website and they send me an email. Anyone who can go my email, hawasszahi.com, he can send me an email.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about what you have planned. You're coming to the States here in April. You are going to be on a lecture tour. And you tell me a little bit about the tour. Where are you going to be?
You know, I'm my tour. I'm coming in April to do some TV appearance, but my tour starts in May 1st in Phoenix, Arizona, and May 3rd, Los Angeles, and 6th, San Diego, 9th of May, Las Vegas. Every city, Portland, Seattle, Denver, Austin, Oklahoma, Dallas, New Orleans, Tampa, Orlando, Nashville, Atlanta, St. Louis, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Chicago, Minneapolis, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Boston, Baltimore, Virginia Beach, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. 33 cities. It started May 1st, end was August 2nd.
That doesn't sound like an archaeological tour. That sounds like a
It is
rock
fun.
tour.
I think I am always happy when I make the public happy. And in
Yeah.
this lecture, I'm revealing many secrets for the first time. And I will see you in Houston. And I will send you a ticket
How about
for
Orlando? Maybe
Orlando.
Orlando.
No, Orlando is better for you?
Yes.
Okay. Send me an email
Excellent.
before the tour.
And you also work with archaeological paths.
Yeah, I give lectures to this company for their
Okay,
tour.
so this is through archaeological paths. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you so
I'm
much
really happy.
for
I
your.
enjoyed really talking to you. And I'm looking
Yes.
forward to see you in Orlando.
Wonderful. I will see you there, and everybody listening and watching today. You've been treated to an amazing discussion with the world's best known archaeologist, and I think he revealed some terrific information today. So thank you again so much, Dr. Hawass, and we will see you. And tune in again next time on Underground, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Thank
Bye.
you.